Let's talk about the Boston Tea Party, because that sanitized little version they feed you in school, you know, the one about patriots fighting taxes, yeah, that's not the whole truth. But then you probably knew that, right? They weren't mad about paying taxes. They were mad that Britain cut them out of the money. And the tea they dumped, that wasn't Lipton. It was global capitalism in a box. In 1773, Britain wasn't taxing tea to crush the colonies. It was trying to save the East India Company, which was a mega corporation on the verge of collapse. It was the company that controlled the tea trade across Asia, backed by the British military. And it was drowning in debt after exploiting India and losing money to smugglers in America. So Parliament passed the Tea Act, letting the East India Tea Company ship directly to the colonies, cheap, duty-free, and undercutting local merchants, meaning colonial traders, including a lot of wealthy white men in Boston, were about to lose their cash cow. This wasn't a protest for freedom. It was a protest to protect profit. So that night, December 16th, 1773, dozens of men, many of them from the Sons of Liberty, disguised themselves as Mohawk natives, not because they respected indigenous people, but because they wanted to hide behind them. Cowards. That's right, they used native identity as camouflage while destroying corporate property. They boarded 3 ships, the Dartmouth, the Eleanor, and the Beaver, and spent almost 3 hours breaking open chests of Chinese-owned tea, owned by the East India Company. They dumped over 92,000 pounds of it into the Boston Harbor, which is worth roughly $1.7 million today. And for the record, it was not black tea from England. It was mostly Bohea, a Chinese black tea company from the Fujian province, plus a variety of other Chinese teas, harvested by exploited labor under imperial rule. Textbooks frame it like a moral stand, like freedom versus tyranny. But Britain still controlled the tea supply chain from Asia to America. And the men leading this protest, many were wealthy merchants and smugglers, people who'd been making fortunes avoiding British taxes. They weren't fighting taxation without representation. They were fighting regulation without a cut. And the irony is, while they threw that tea overboard, enslaved Africans were still unloading sugar and molasses on those same docks, feeding the same system of trade they claimed to oppose. So yeah, they dumped tea, but not for liberty, for leverage. It wasn't about freedom from empire. It was about who got to be the empire. And the tea, it wasn't British, it was Chinese. It came from colonized soil, picked by exploited workers, sold by a company too powerful to fail. The Boston Tea Party wasn't a rebellion against oppression. It was a fight to inherit it.